Bacteria. Bacteria are one-cell organisms with both plant and animal characteristics, also known as germs or microbes. Bacteria can exist almost anywhere on the skin, in water, air, decayed matter secretions of body openings, on clothing. What the fuck? On clothing. Bullshit. On clothing and beneath the nails. Bacteria can only be seen with the aid of a microscope. 1,500 rod-shaped bacteria will fit comfortably on the head of a pin. Types of bacteria. There are hundreds of different kinds of bacteria. However, bacteria are classified into two main types, depending on whether they are beneficial or harmful. Most bacteria are non-pathogenic organisms, helpful or harmless, not disease-producing, which perform many useful functions, such as decomposing garbage and improving soil fertility. In the human body, non-pathogenic bacteria help metabolize food, protect against infectious microorganisms, and stimulate immune response. Some bacteria cultures are used to produce penicillin, acidophilus, yogurt, and a special type of milk used for gastrointestinal disorders. Saprophytes, a type of non-pathogenic bacteria, lives on dead matter. Pathogenic bacteria, microbes, or germs are harmful and, although in the minority, cause diseases when they invade plant or animal tissue. To this group belong the parasites, which require living matter for their growth. It is because of pathogenic bacteria that salons and cosmetology schools must maintain certain sanitary practices. Classification of pathogenic bacteria. Bacteria have distinct shapes that help to identify them. Pathogenic bacteria are classified as the following. Cocci are round-shaped bacteria that appear singly, alone, or in the following groups. Staphylococcus, which is pus-forming bacteria that grow in clusters like a bunch of grapes. They cause abscesses, pustules, and boils. Streptococcus, pus-forming bacteria arranged in curved lines, resembling a string of beads. They cause infections such as strep throat and blood poisoning. And bacilli are short, rod diplococcus, spherical bacteria that grow in pairs and cause diseases such as pneumonia. Bacilli are short, rod-shaped bacteria. They are the most common bacteria and produce diseases such as tetanus, lockjaw, typhoid fever, tuberculosis, and diphtheria. Spirilla are spiral or corkscrew-shaped bacteria. They are subdivided into subgroups such as Treponema pallida, which causes syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease, STD, or Borrelia burgdorferi, which causes Lyme disease. Movement of bacteria. Different bacteria move in different ways. Cocci rarely show active motility, self-movement. They are transmitted in the air, in dust, or within the substance in which they settle. Bacilli and spirilla are both motile and use slender hair-like extensions known as flagella, singular flagellum, or cilia, for locomotion, moving about. A whip-like motion of these hairs moves bacteria in liquid. Bacteria growth and reproduction. Bacteria generally consist of an outer shell wall and an internal protoplasm. They manufacture their own food from the surrounding environment, give off waste products, and grow and reproduce. The life cycle of bacteria is made up of two different phases, the active or vegetative stage and the inactive or spore-forming phase. During the active stage, bacteria grow and reproduce. These microorganisms multiply best in warm, dark, damp, or dirty places where sufficient food is available. When conditions are favorable, bacteria grow and reproduce. When they reach their largest size, they divide into two new cells. This division is called mitosis. The cells that are formed are called daughter cells. When conditions are favorable, bacteria die or become inactive. Inactive or spore-forming stage. Certain bacteria, such as the anthrax and tetanus bacilli, form spherical spores with tough outer coverings during their inactive stage. The purpose is to be able to withstand periods of famine, dryness, and unsuitable temperatures. In this stage, spores can be blown out and are not harmed by disinfectants, heat, or cold. When favorable conditions are restored, the spores change into the active or vegetative form, then grow and reproduce. Bacterial infections. An infection occurs when body tissues are invaded by disease-causing or pathogenic bacteria. There can be no bacterial infection without the presence of pathogenic bacteria. The presence of pus is a sign of infection. Pus is a fluid product of inflammation and contains white blood cells and the debris of dead cells, tissues, elements, and bacteria. Staphylococci are among the most common human bacteria and are carried by about a third of the population. Staph can be picked up on doorknobs, countertops, and other surfaces, but it is more frequently transferred through skin-to-skin contact, such as shaking hands or using unclean implements. Antibiotics once controlled these bacteria, but certain strains of staph are now resistant to the drugs. There is now greater need than ever for the proper use of infection control measures in the cosmetology industry because of these resistant bacteria. A local infection, such as a pimple or abscess, is one that is confined to a particular part of the body and is indicated by a lesion containing pus. A general infection results when the bloodstream carries the bacteria or virus and their toxins to all parts of the body. Syphilis is an example. When a disease spreads from one person to another by contact, it is said to be contagious or communicable. Some of the more common contagious diseases that will prevent a cosmetologist from servicing a client are tuberculosis, common cold, ringworms, scabies, and viral infections. The chief source of contagion are unclean hands and implements, open sores, pus, mouth and nose discharges, and shared drinking cups and towels. Uncovered coughing or sneezing and spitting in public also spread germs. Viruses. A virus is a submicroscopic structure capable of infesting almost all plants and animals, including bacteria. They are so small that they can even pass through the pores of a porcelain filter. They cause common colds, other respiratory and gastrointestinal infections. Other viruses that plague humans are measles, mumps, chickenpox, smallpox, rabies, yellow fever, hepatitis, polio, influenza, and HIV, which causes AIDS. One difference between viruses and bacteria is that a virus lives only by penetrating cells and becoming part of them, while bacteria are organisms that can live on their own. It is for this reason that bacteria infections can usually be treated with specific antibiotics, while viruses are hard to kill without harming the body in the process. Generally, viruses are resistant to antibiotics. Vaccination prevents viruses from penetrating cells, but vaccinations are not available for all viruses. Hepatitis. Hepatitis, a disease marked by inflammation of the liver, is caused by a blood-borne virus similar to HIV in transmission. It is more easily contracted than HIV, however, as it is present in all body fluids. 3 types of hepatitis are concerned to the cosmetologist. Number 1, hepatitis A. The illness usually lasts about 3 weeks. Symptoms are similar to those of the flu. Adults often have yellowing of the skin or the eyes. The disease is spread through close household contacts such as common bathroom use, poor sanitation, poor personal hygiene, contaminated food, milk, water, and shellfish, infected food handlers, and sexual contact. A vaccine is available. Hepatitis B. The illness can cause long-term hepatitis, cirrhosis, and or liver cancer. About half the people with the disease do not have symptoms. Although the disease can mirror the flu, the disease is primarily transferred through sexual contact or parental exposure. Parenteral exposure, piercing mucous membranes or skin barrier, to blood or blood products. A vaccine is available. Hepatitis C. The illness can progress slowly, and about 1/3 of those with the illness do not have symptoms, though symptoms can include fatigue and stomach pain. The disease is transferred through parenteral contact and sexual activity with infected partners. No vaccine is available. HIV/AIDS. HIV, human immunodeficiency syndrome, deficiency virus, is the virus that causes AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. AIDS, the disease, breaks down the body's immune system. HIV is passed from one person to person through blood and or other body fluids, such as semen and vaginal secretions. A person can be infected with HIV for up to 11 years without having symptoms. Sometimes people who are HIV positive have never been tested and do not know they are infecting other people. The HIV virus is transmitted through unprotected sexual contact, the sharing of needles by intravenous drug users, and accidents with needles in healthcare settings. It can enter the bloodstream through cuts and sores and can be transmitted in the salon by a sharp implement. It is not transmitted by holding hands, hugging, kissing, sharing food, or household items like the telephone or even toilet seats. There are no documented cases of the virus being transmitted by food handlers, insects, or casual contact. How pathogens enter the body. Pathogenic bacteria or viruses can enter the body through a break in the skin, such as a cut, pimple, or scratch, the mouth, contaminated water or food, the nose, air, the eyes or ears, unprotected sex. The body fights infection by means of unbroken skin, which is the body's first line of defense, body secretions such as perspiration and digestive juices, white cells within the blood that destroy bacteria, antitoxins that counteract the toxins produced by the bacteria and viruses. Blood-borne pathogens, disease-causing bacteria or viruses that are carried through the body in the blood or body fluids such as hepatitis and HIV are called blood-borne pathogens. If you accidentally cut a client who is HIV positive or is infected with hepatitis and you continue to use the implement without cleaning and disinfecting it, you risk puncturing your skin or cutting another client with a contaminated tool. Similarly, if you are shaving a client's face or neck with a razor or clipper blades and pick up body fluids from a blemish or open sore, transmission is possible. Risks are also present when waxing and teasing. Parasites. Parasites are vegetable or animal organisms that live in or on another living organism and draw their nourishment from that organism, referred to as a host. They are not capable of sustaining their own life without a host. Vegetable plant parasites or fungi, which include molds, mildews, and yeast, can produce contagious diseases such as ringworm and phallus, both skin disease. Nail fungus can be contracted through implements that have not been disinfected properly or by moisture trapped under nail enhancements. Nail fungus is chronic and usually localized, but can be spread to other nails and from client to client if implements are not disinfected before and after each client. Treatment is generally applied directly to the affected area. In serious cases, however, physician's care is required. Animal parasites, such as head lice, are responsible for contagious diseases and conditions. A skin disease caused by infestation of head lice is called pediculosis capitis. Scabies is another contagious skin disease and is caused by the itch mite, which burrows under the skin. Contagious diseases and conditions caused by parasites should never be treated in a cosmetology school or salon. Clients should be referred to a physician. Contaminated countertops should be cleaned with a pesticide or insecticide according to manufacturer's directions. Immunity. Immunity is the ability of the body to destroy any bacteria that have gained entrance and to resist infection in general. Immunity against disease can be natural or acquired and is a sign of good health. Natural immunity is partly inherited and partly developed through hygienic living. Acquired immunity is immunity that the body develops after it overcomes a disease or through inoculation, such as vaccination.